Hello, lovelies. I am Queen Lovely. Welcome to my channel. If you're a returning member of the Melanated Crowns community, thank you so much for coming back. And if you are new and you are just as committed as I am to the spiritual, mental, and emotional well-being of Black women, you want to subscribe to this channel and also hit the notification bell so you know when I post more videos such as this one. Today is Monday, so I decided to do a motivational Monday message. And today for the message, I'm actually going to be reviewing Michelle Obama's Netflix original documentary, Becoming, which is a video adaptation of her book, her memoir. I have yet to read the book, but I did finally sit down and watch the documentary, and I am very glad that I did because it was extremely inspirational. If you've seen the Becoming documentary, or you have read the book, or you've done both, drop a crystal ball below, hit the thumbs up, and let me know what you think about it before I get into my thoughts. I will not be reviewing this documentary in chronological order. I just will be speaking on and giving commentary on key points that stood out to me and key points that resonated with me. First and foremost, I cried all throughout the documentary. I guess because I watched it last week, and I guess I was feeling the effects of the Scorpio super full moon that we just went into, and it was just beautiful. It just made me fall in love with myself all over again in regards to being a Black woman in America, and seeing a Black woman who came from a working class family, who, you know, she was a round the way Black girl, and she was able to just accomplish so many honorable things. When the documentary first opens up, we basically see that she's waiting to get in her car. So she is the former first lady, but whenever I assume that whenever you've had a high position in the White House that required you to have a Secret Service detail, even after you are done fulfilling the obligations of that position, you still have a Secret Service detail for the rest of your life. And it started off with her. She said, when I get in the car, honey, I listen to my music. And that made me laugh because that is me all day. I get in the car, I put my headphones on, just let me zone out. The car ride for me has always been an escape. I'm a Sagittarius. I have a Sagittarius stellium, so naturally, especially the Sagittarius moon in me, we love to travel. So I haven't been too many places in an international way, but I have been on a lot of, car rides and car trips, going different places and bus trips. I just enjoy it. She gets to a building, and this turns out to be the first stop of her book tour, and she has a cake there, and the cake is basically her Becoming book. She has her friend who's, her chief of staff, and this has been her friend for over a decade, and her friend really couldn't hold it together. She was getting emotional. She was crying. That's me. Now, Michelle Obama is a Capricorn. So Capricorns that I know, Capricorn women, they don't really show emotion. They really know how to master emotions. Dark-sided Capricorns could come across as cold and, really hardcore and even bullies. But the good side Capricorns that I've grown to know, they're really good people, but they're not emotional. They're really not emotional individuals. One thing I did notice throughout this documentary, and this is an observation, I don't take issue with it, is that she has a lot of white women that work with her, so that's a plus, that a lot of people on her team are women, or at least the individuals that we've gotten to see. But I noticed like her stylist is a white woman, her chief of staff is a white woman, and then the woman that was like organizing the book tour and everything was white as well. And that just goes to show that when you get to these high places in your life, sometimes, you don't really see a lot of people who look like you in positions to assist you on your day-to-day. I really enjoyed the background of her upbringing. She spoke about how what kept her grounded and what allowed her to find her self-worth at such an early age, and her individuality and her self-confidence, was that Her and her family sat down every night and had dinner together. Her mother allowed her and her brother to ask anything they wanted. Of course, they had to be respectful, but, it was no secrets. Her mom kept it real with her. And that reminded me of my mom. We didn't sit down as a family every night and have dinner, but my mother did have this, open door policy, so to speak, where she was very transparent and very real. Sometimes a little too much for a child. There are some things where I wish I just did not know about, because there was some things that I did not need to know about at that age. But it did help shape me into the woman I've become today thus far. Mediocrity was not an option for Michelle Obama. She talked about how her grandfather, who was very influential in her and her brother's life, was an intelligent man of many skill sets. But unfortunately, the white supremacist society that, we are in, that they were in back then, would not allow him to be who he truly was. He would not be acknowledged or rewarded. There were white men that were half as smart as him, that were getting hired for positions that they did not even qualify for because of racism. And she talks about how that damaged his spirit to an extent, but he poured into his grandkids and said, listen, you have certain opportunities to do things that I just did not have the opportunity to do. And Michelle Obama really took that serious. Her brother had gotten into a prestigious school, and she remembered sitting with her guidance counselor and saying, I want to go to that school as well. Like, that's what I want to do. And her guidance counselor really tried to minimize her optimism and say, you're shooting too high. You want too much. And that was that was really disheartening to hear, because you have these people that are in these positions to advise and counsel and guide you in a moment of uncertainty, but also a moment of excitement. I'm graduating high school. I'm about to go to college. I'm about to, start studying things that really pique my interest, in hopes that when I get my degree, I can now make money off of these things. And you have a guidance counselor telling you oh, you're shooting too high. You're doing too much. You need to do this. You need to do that. It reminded me, I was able to relate to that, because I feel like all my life, the things that I've wanted to do, the most influential people in my life have not always seen it for me right at the moment. You know what I mean? It takes them a while to come around, because you have people that are raised and, come into adults with a certain mindset, and they don't really understand that times are changing, where, in a new age where you can create the opportunities that may not be presented to you. And sometimes they can kind of create seeds of doubt in you and insecurity, which is misprojection, an inappropriate misprojection. This also reminds me of, my therapist, my last therapist that I recently had, who thought, you want to be a spiritual advisor and you want to have this, that's a long shot. Do you really think that's realistic? And it really stunned me and shocked me, because I'm just like, I don't think I get that you're supposed to advise and counsel me and you're my therapist, but to say that to a client, it just shows that everyone is not on the same frequency as you, and everyone does not have the same mindset as you, and they may not have the same drive or ethics. They allow society and circumstances and people to box them in and tell them what they can and cannot do. Whereas someone like Michelle Obama or myself, or even you listening, Queen, you're like, no, I want to do this. I want to do that. I know it's going to work. And you're determined and willful. And because you're on that frequency of vibration, it does manifest. So now I want to speak about her time in the White House, okay? The first thing that really stood out to me about her time in the White House, and it also saddened me, is how she had to suppress her voice and suppress her authenticity in efforts to fit into this political bubble. She, first and foremost, she's accomplished, she's educated, she had goals and aspirations for herself, and she meets Barack in college, and that story was just hilarious. We're going to get into their relationship dynamics in a second. And, this man, he gets into politics, whatever the case may be, he decides he wants to run for president. And your whole life is just uprooted and your whole life is just changed. And as the first lady, it is your job to stand by your man, the president, and, prop him up and support him and, be his mouthpiece or be the mouthpiece for topics that they feel are suitable for you to speak on as a woman. And Michelle Obama tried her best to just relate with us. And unfortunately, the media would twist her words. They were making fun of her looks, calling her an angry black woman. And it just became a thing where, okay, when you go out and speak, we're just going to have to put you on the teleprompter. We're just going to have to do this and do that. And that was just really sad for me because Michelle Obama didn't really go deep into it in the documentary, but just intuitively speaking, she loves Barack and she supports him. And she understood the bigger picture of what it would represent for winning and being, the first black family, being the first family of the United States. But like anyone, it's a hard pill to swallow where you have to put your individuality and your personal dreams and aspirations on hold for about 12 to 15 years in efforts to support your husband. And when you're trying to find a silver lining, okay, this is his dream, but I'm also going to do this and that. And people are like, okay, but you could do that, but we got to do this and that and that and that. That could just really take a toll on you. And you could just tell she felt defeated emotionally. In addition to that, she would give some powerful speeches, but then the next day they would be talking about what she was wearing. And that bothered her. But, as an alchemist, turning shit into sugar, so to speak, she said, oh, well, I'm going to use that to my advantage. Since they're paying attention to my clothes, let me play into that. And she started saying that she would purposely put on certain clothes, nothing crazy, knowing that they would blog about that so that they wouldn't pay attention to what she was saying and twist it for negativity. The relationship dynamics between her and Barack is beautiful because the story, it was just hilarious. The way in which she just talked about how she didn't want to do the typical, oh, I'm a black, he's black, so we're dating, we should get together. And how on paper he was like a nerd, but then when he called and he was like, hello, she was like, ooh, who is this? And, his car, you could see the ground and everything. It was just a beautiful love story between them. And I'm just really glad that now she's in a space where she wrote her memoir, she's speaking her piece. And she could just now go on to do so many things that she wanted to, always do. It's just beautiful. And I know she glad. I know it was bittersweet for her to leave the White House, but I know she glad she out of it. I don't care what nobody say. I also enjoyed how she went to schools. She would do the round tables with the children. And there was this Mexican girl who was like, I don't understand why I got picked. And she talked about how she works an after-school job to help her two little brothers because her dad got really sick. And Michelle is trying to tell her, that's your power. The things that you feel make you down here is actually what's going to elevate you if you use it right. If you don't allow these situations to use you as a vessel of negativity and you own your power, you could take these situations and elevate yourself. So that was beautiful. I loved when she went back to the church because, she's a very religious, spiritual woman. And she sat with the older black women and they was this one woman, I told you I cried a lot. I was crying at this part where the one older woman was like, my mother never seen it. She never thought she would see it. And for me to see it, for us to see a black family, and the Obamas was just so classy. They never had a big scandal, nothing. And Michelle Obama talked about that pressure, we're the first black family. So it's we really can't have any mistakes. It was just beautiful. And she's the first lady to be as accomplished and intelligent that they've ever had. So that was another thing. And it's funny because it just, doing the comparison with shows like Scandal with Melly Grant, how she was a lawyer, she was accomplished and whatnot. But you see, like, in the background, and granted, it's a show, it's scripted, but art does imitate life, how with Fitz, he was like, you're ornamental, nobody cares what you have to say. But with Michelle Obama, it was different. And it shows, like, when you see the demographic of people in her audience on her book tour, you see white people, Indian, all types of people. I honestly feel like, and I know she doesn't want to do politics, but I feel like if Michelle Obama was to run, she gonna get the black men, black women, white women, Hispanic women, probably get the Hispanic men too, and whatever the case may be, to vote for her because they love her. She polls very well. I think she's like the most popular first lady we've ever had, and likable one. My biggest takeaway from this documentary was when Michelle Obama said she sat at some of the most powerful tables in the world, and a lot of people don't even know how they've gotten there. They're not even nearly as smart as her. And it stuck out to me and it resonated with me because we tend to have this view of what it takes to be successful, what it takes to get in the building and get in the room and then control the room and have a voice in the room. But there really is no linear, direct way of doing things. It's amazing to listen to these biographies and these documentaries and read these memoirs and get an idea of what it took for Oprah to be Oprah, what it took for Michelle to be Michelle, and so forth. But success is for you to define. Your story is for you to tell. And don't, shortchange yourself because of someone's expectations or someone's criticisms. And that's pretty much it. I don't want this to be a long, drawn-out video, but I wanted to do this for Monday. If you would like to book a tarot reading with me or a spiritual advising session, I now offer email readings. I told you all that I would be adding some affordable readings. So as you can see, we have the $15.55 for the email reading, which is a 3-card spread. You can read more about that on my website, which is pinned in the comments and description box. We have the chakra activity if you're interested in unblocking and unclogging your chakras. And we also have the $50 7 chakra reading spread. That's an email reading, as well as the chakra activity that you get with that as well. And once again, the beauty about email readings is that once you get it, you could keep it and always look back on your notes. I still have a sale going on, 50% off my 20-minute readings that are usually $44.44. They are now $22.22 until the end of May. And if you want a 12-card spread reading, you want to jump on that now because I will be discontinuing that as well. So if you are interested in booking with me, click the link in the bio. Not the bio, that's pinned in the comments, and click the link that is in my description box. And have a lovely day. Bye.